Okay. All right. We are live. So I'm going to give a little bit of time for people to actually gather up. It's almost 7 o'clock, but yeah. The sound should be pretty good because again I'm using my good microphone. If the sound sounds garbage, let me know. It might be picking up the wrong microphone. That happens sometimes. Hey, Green Earth, welcome. All right, so we're going to give people a few minutes to get together, and then we're going to go ahead and get underway here. So this is a discussion kind of piggybacking on a video that I posted a couple of months ago. And I don't know how many of you people remember it or watched it at all, but it's not that big of a deal. That's fine. Basically, I went over potential candidates to fill the gaping void at left guard for the Seahawks in 2021. And it was kind of packaged with the addressing of a left tackle because at the time I thought Dwayne Brown was going to retire. But if you go back to that video, you can actually get a pretty decent idea of what I want to do at left guard going into 2021. But we have more information now than we did when I made that video. The college football season is over, for one. Washi, I don't have any pull with Hawk's Nest. I don't know who you think I am, but Hawk's Nest barely doesn't know me that well. And he doesn't have any mods yet, so I wouldn't think about it too much if I were you. By the way, Hawk's Nest, that Discord is the Wild West. There are no rules. There is nothing going on. He needs to install some form of, some sort of regulation in there, okay? That place is the Wild West right now. Okay. So anyway, yeah, left guard. So in the last few days, it has become very, very obvious that this team needs a new left guard because our former left guard retired. Not that we wanted him back anyway. Yeah, okay. All right. Let's see here. Add moderator. Okay. I think you're good. Yeah, you gotta, I'm part libertarian, but you do have to tell people what they can and can't do sometimes, or your place just turns into a shit heap. So anyway, all right. So anyway, Mike Upati retired. Not that I wanted him back anyway, but if you thought there was maybe a possibility we'd bring him back, that possibility is now out the door. So we need a new left guard. Also, as you guys probably know, Jordan Simmons is a free agent. Jordan Simmons is not guaranteed to be back with the team in 2020. So even if you think that Jordan Simmons was going to replace Mike Upati, we can't be so sure he's going to be on the team in 2021. So we need to have a conversation about the left guard position in Seattle and try to figure out what we should do to address the issue. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at our options and try to get a feel for what people are thinking. And I will tell you guys what I'm thinking before the end of this video. And that's basically what we're going to be doing today because I think of all the needs that this team has, left guard may currently be the biggest. Especially because Simmons is leaving. Even if you think Simmons is good, which I kind of don't, the fact that he's a free agent makes this a big deal. So with that in mind, let's look at the current situation in Seattle at left guard. We really, as of right now, have only 2 guys who could play left guard who are under contract in 2021 on the team. There are 2 guys, Phil Haynes and Jamarco Jones. Now, you could maybe argue that 1 or 2 guys could move to left guard, like Kyle Fuller, but short of something like that, it's not good. It's not what you're looking for. So, yeah, in terms of an in-house promotion to the left guard spot, those are your 2 dudes, Phil Haynes, Jamarco Jones. And for my part, I like both those guys, but they haven't done anything yet to prove that they can be that guy. Jamarco Jones has been with the team for a couple years now, and he's done some good things at guard, I think. I think that's absolutely fair to say. I think that he's shown more potential as a guard than he has as a tackle, but he's also gotten injured a good amount so far in his career, so I don't think we can rely on him. And yeah, I just don't believe that Jamarco Jones can be the reliable left guard of the future. And Phil Haynes, I thought, played pretty well in the playoff game against the Packers, but short of that, we haven't seen anything from him, and he's been on the team for 2 years. So the reality is, at best, he's very injury prone, and at worst, he'll just end up being bad and injury prone. So how do you guys feel about those 2 guys? Let's go ahead and get the discussion underway. Does anybody in the chat want to replace Upati with one of those 2 guys as the starting left guard in 2021? I will say this, I probably like those 2 guys more than the average, but it's still not something I'm excited for. Pay Dirt, welcome. Danny P, welcome. But I don't want either of those guys to be the week 1 starter in 2021. We'll get to that, Chaotic. We will get to that. So yeah, it doesn't seem like anybody's enthusiastic about Phil Haynes or Jamarco Jones, which, you know, I feel it. I'm right there with you guys. I think both those guys still have some potential, but I think this is a great opportunity to make a serious investment. I think this is a phenomenal opportunity for the Seahawks to make a investment that proves to people like maybe Russell Wilson that we are taking this seriously. So, Michael, no, I would draft the future LT with their first pick and play him at left guard until Brown retires. Not sure if there are any tackles coming out that could pull this off. You know, that's not bad. That's not a bad idea. I would be careful with the idea of thinking that offensive linemen can just move from one position to another and be great. But if he can, Daniel Falele is 400 pounds and 6'7" and is supposed to be a left tackle. So you would think that he could play guard. So that's not bad. That's not bad at all, Michael. I could go for that. Introverted, welcome. Sign Lindsley at the center and then address guard in the draft. Yeah, that's a decent idea too. Okay, so with all that being said, I think we pretty clearly, I mean, you know, it's pretty clear that this team will not be able to effectively fill the gap at left guard with their own talent. So anyway, so let's take a look at free agency. Now, there are 4 guys that I would be interested in bringing in. 2 of them would be very expensive, and 2 of them would be cheaper. Washi, I think it's reasonable to assume that a guy like Scherf can move from left guard to right guard. Guards, it's fairly easy to move left to right. I would be careful about it at tackle. I would be careful about it with a center moving to guard, as we all saw with Posick, but I don't think it's unreasonable to say that Scherf should be able to handle moving from left to right. So I don't agree with that. So anyway, the four guys that I want that have caught my eye so far from what I've seen are the two expensive guys, which are Brandon Scherf and Joe Thuney. Both those guys are all pro talents. Both those guys are some of the best guards in the league. They're both going to get a ton of money. Yeah, that's the big investment. If you want to say to Russell Wilson, yeah, we really care about you and your complaints, we hear you, and we want to prove to you that we are going to take this seriously, bringing in Scherf or Thuney would be great. And as Washi says, Thuney is a left guard and Scherf is a right guard. Now, I believe that Scherf could probably move to left guard and probably handle it, but it's arguable. Michael, I don't agree. I don't agree at all, Michael. I think this team can create cap space. All right, Brandon Scherf is, let me check. He is 29 years old. He turns 30 after this upcoming season. So he just turned 29. Joe Thuney is 28, and he will turn 29 in the middle of the next season. So they're not young, but if they were young, they wouldn't have proven themselves to be such elite talents. Oh, Michael, then you just create more cap space. That's what the Saints do every offseason. And yeah, they're paying for it now, but who cares? They don't even have a quarterback anymore. They can pay for it for a couple years while they figure out who their next QB is. You can always create cap space. Ask the 2015 Denver Broncos about that, man. Yeah, they went into that offseason with, like, they were in cap hell, and they somehow managed to cut nobody. And then they signed Emmanuel Sanders, TJ Ward, DeMarcus Ware, and somebody else. Yeah, I don't. You can create cap room. If you can't, I want you off my team because you suck. Introverted. We're not talking about cornerbacks right now. Anthony, I don't care. I don't care about Alex Collins. I hope they cut him before the season starts. Oh yeah, Washi. I'm going to say that in a stream that anybody can watch. Jesus Christ, Washi. What is wrong with you? Okay. So anyway, those are the two big guys. The other two guys that I kind of liked when I was looking them up were, let me grab his name because I'm probably going to mispronounce it, but hopefully you guys know what I'm talking about. Jermaine Elouimunor from the Patriots. Jermaine Elouimunor from the Patriots. I think he's actually a right guard as well, but he had a nice season last year. He's a pretty good player. He's a free agent from the Patriots. And he strikes me as somebody who's not going to be all that expensive, but he is pretty good. I don't know how to pronounce his name, guys. I did the best I could, but somebody out there is going to know who I'm talking about. I think he's going to be reasonably priced. I don't think he's going to demand a big contract. I think that he's a pretty good guard. And yeah, the other guy would be Austin Blythe. Austin Blythe from the Rams. He's somebody who has versatility, which is very valuable. He's somebody who has familiarity with Shane Waldron, which is valuable. And I don't think he's going to be that expensive. You might be able to give him like 2 years, 7 million, 2 years, 6 million, something like that. But those are the guys that caught my eye. Those are the guys that made me think, if we got one of those guys, it would help a lot. I'm going to read off some more names here. And these are guys who are free agents and we could go get, but for one reason or another, I wasn't interested. Lane Taylor from Green Bay, J.R. Sweezy from Arizona, John Miller from Carolina, John Feliciano from Buffalo, Elijah Wilkinson from Denver, Brian Winters from Buffalo, Tom Compton from San Francisco, Alex Redmond from Cincinnati, Forrest Lamp from the LA Chargers. So those guys are options. They didn't jump off the page to me like the 4 guys I gave you. But if you're thinking about those guys, I got no issue with that, except for maybe Sweezy. If you're thinking about Sweezy, then I think we need to have a talk. Yeah, chaotic, as long as Fluker's okay playing for the veteran minimum and not a penny more. As long as he knows what he is. Yeah, Michael, that's kind of the problem. I generally agree with that sentiment, except maybe somebody like Feliciano on the Bills, because that Bills offensive line was rock solid last year, man. Yeah, definitely, T-Man. All right. So again, those are the 4 guys who jump out to me as really solid options to be put at left guard. Scherf, Thuney, Blythe, and Eloy Monor. I don't think Quentin Spain is a free agent, Andrew. He might be. I remember talking about him last year. So I want to remind people, and just because I say this doesn't mean it's going to come true. We can create a ton of cap space this offseason. Russell Wilson could restructure. That alone could free up 15, 20 million. And then you can cut guys like Dwayne Brown, Tyler Lockett, Jerron Reed, et cetera, et cetera. You can extend those players. There are a ton of ways to create cap space. The Jamal Adams extension might free up a little bit of cap for all we know. You can cut Brandon Shell. There are a ton of different things we can do. Don't even no Empower. I think he would restructure. I never said that, Empower. No. I don't think he's going to take a pay cut, which is what a lot of people were asking for. And I was thinking to myself, like, okay, why would he do that? But restructuring is giving up something in exchange for something. Yeah, you can extend Dunlap. Yeah, Silver Ace, that's a possibility. I think we would trade him, actually. I mean, if you're being more literal, it's more likely you could trade him than cut him, but it would accomplish the same thing. Shameful. All right, so let's see here. So, how do you guys feel? Because let's check here. And Spotrack has been way off before. I want to make that very clear. However, they do the best they can. Like I remember last year, they were way off on projecting Jack Conklin's contract. Hey, Cody. So Brandon Scherf of the football team. Let's check this out here real quick. They have a projected contract for Scherf, and if their website ever loads, I'll be able to take a quick look at it. All right. So the estimated contract that they think Brandon Scherf will get in free agency is hidden behind network connectivity issues. Okay, 5 years, 64 million. Now the cap is going down. Teams are not exactly in the greatest of positions when it comes to their cap. So I think it could be a lot less. I think it could be like 4 years, 50 million. But same difference, basically. He's going to get about 12 to 13 million bucks a year. And if you bring him in, that's going to be your big transaction of the off season. That's going to be your big money maker. That's going to be the move you make that lets the team know that, hey, you are taking this more seriously. So Brandon Scherf, according to Spotrack, 5 years, 64 million. Again, I actually think he's probably going to get 1 year less, but it's basically a similar effect. Now, as for Joe Thuney, Spotrack thinks he's going to get a lot more. They have him at 5 years, 77 million. Again, I kind of expect it to be more like 4 years, 60 million, but the point is you're giving him about 15 million a year. I'm going to let my water pumps to turn off before I continue. Okay, there we go. Yeah. So both those guys are going to command at least eight figures a year. Both those guys are going to command at least a 4-year deal. And yeah, if you want to make that investment, you better really like these guys. And I'll say it again. There are many ways this team can create cap. And I expect them to do those things if they feel like it benefits them. Now, as for guys like an Austin Blythe, I would say that he would probably be like 2 years, 8 million, maybe a little less. This is not a good offseason for guys like that. You could maybe get him for at most 2 years, 10 million, but I think it would be closer to 2 years, 8 million. Blythe would be a solid, decent option. And as for the other guy I brought up, the guy from the Patriots, Eluinor, or whatever, you guys know who I'm talking about at this point, he might be less. He might be like 1 year, 4 million. There's not a big market out for him. Yeah, you can restructure Dunlap, you can cut Reed, you can trade Lockett, you can extend Diggs and not give him $5.5 million this year. You can trade Diggs. There's a ton of stuff you can do, and I'm not saying we're going to do all of it, but I'm saying we're going to do some of it. So, yeah. So that's what I see at free agency right now. So if you're in the chat, go ahead and let me know what you guys think about that. How you guys would approach this offseason. Does any of that appeal to you? Now, I will say this. If you go with Blythe or Eluinor or one of those guys, then you may need to also spend a draft pick because guys like Blythe and Eluinor may very well just be 1 year or 2 year fixes, and then you need to look to the draft to keep the position stocked. a year past that. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it. But there are going to be a lot of different takes here. Maybe there's somebody I didn't mention that you guys would like. There's probably going to be somebody who gets cut. Or maybe you want to get really creative and get a tackle and move him to guard, because usually guard's not that hard to play as long as you're strong enough to handle fat tacks. By the way, don't rule out some of these players, even these really good players, signing like 1-year deals because they know the cap is going to go back up next year. Disgusting. Chaotic. Rick Wagner is a right tackle, right? I feel like there needs to be a grade A free agent investment this offseason, or else Wilson's just going to really start to get irritated. I will say that. All right. Someone to keep Donald off for us. Yeah. I will say this. As of right now, I actually really like the idea of bringing in Scher for Thuney. I am willing to pay that hefty price. Yeah, Michael, there's a lot of versatility in our secondary. Well, okay. I'm going to go off topic real quick here. Every team in the league should be calling about Wilson when he's available. Okay? It doesn't mean anything. If you see a player that is good and you think he might be available, you do your job and you call and inquire and ask, "Hey, what do you want? What do you want? Will you take this?" It doesn't mean a trade was about to happen. It just means these GMs are not being lazy idiots who don't earn their paycheck. It's your job to contact every GM in the league about every player that may be available for trade. I wouldn't read too much into it if I were you guys. Just like I remember several years ago when Rajon Rondo was on the trade block in the NBA, and I hate Rajon Rondo. I think he sucks. I think he's an awful player. I think that he is a product of the play of his teammates completely and totally. But that being said, I also, said to myself, now that he's on the trade block, every team in the league should be calling the Celtics and asking, what's it gonna take to get Rondo from you? For all you know, they only want like a second round pick and an eighth man. Do your job. That's part of your job as a GM. Just because you called about a player doesn't mean you're going to make a trade, but you are obligated to make calls for virtually every player who goes within 10 miles of a trade block, I think. That's how I feel about things. Yeah. Thuney would be a bit more expensive probably, but maybe that's worth it. Okay. So now let's do the draft. So we're going to swing into the draft, but first let's take a quick break. 26 people in the stream right now. Thank you everybody for showing up tonight. Please like the stream if you haven't already. If you're not subscribed yet, subscribe if you want Seahawks content, 3-4 times a week right now. During the season, it'll be essentially daily. Become a member if you haven't yet to support the channel and get access to perks. And yeah, I guess that's about it. All right. So some people were asking about the draft. So yeah, we're going to talk about the draft. Now, when I made my video a few months ago, like 2+ months ago, I went over some guys who had my attention in the draft. And this is not exactly going to inform that much because things have changed so much in the last couple months. But, I like to use the draft network, and they may prove to be inaccurate, but they're as good as anybody else right now. So Let's go over the situation on the Draft Network. They have 2 guards worthy of a first-round pick, so we're going to skip those guys because unless they fall very far in the draft, we will not be in range to keep them. So the first guards that would make sense for the Seahawks to pick with their second-round pick, there are basically 2 guys, or well, maybe 3. Creed Humphrey from Oklahoma, Josh Myers from Ohio State, and Landon Dickerson from Alabama. So let's take a look at these guys. Now, Humphrey projects to be a center, which is not great because we went through this song and dance with Posick and it did not work out for us. Kyle, I don't think his body's going to allow that. If it did, that's awesome, but I don't think his body's going to allow that. All right, so Humphrey projects to be a center, which I don't love, but he's a good prospect. Unfortunately, Josh Myers, you could kind of say the same thing about. So Landon Dickerson from Alabama is somebody who projects to be good at guard in the NFL. He does have a bad injury history, it looks like, though. Yeah, for whatever it's worth, the scouting that I use when I use these players, the scouts that I use both believe that Humphreys and Myers are going to be best at center, whereas Dickerson could be center or guard. Okay, so those are the 3 guys who stand out to me as options in the second round. Now, once we get down to the 4th round and down, there are one guy that I really like is Trey Smith from Tennessee. He was a 5-star recruit from high school. He's 6'5.5", so basically 6'6" and 331 pounds. So he's already big. Well, yeah. So yeah, Trey Smith from Tennessee catches my eye as a great 4th round option. I think that if we were to use our 4th round pick on a guard and we wanted somebody who had the potential to start right away, I think that's your dude. I like that. A couple other names here would be Aaron Banks from Notre Dame, Ben Cleveland from Georgia, and David Moore from Grambling. And at that point, we start getting down into some more developmental projects. Like I like Tommy Kramer from Notre Dame as well, but these are guys you draft and then you hope they turn into something by year 3. The Bama guard is Deontay Brown, but I don't think he declared. Oh, no, Deontay Brown's stock has fallen all the way to like the 5th round. So that's actually a decent option as well, but a Deontay Brown's stock fell pretty hard in his final year. But that's another good option, actually, because maybe he just had a rough time. I mean, it was a weird college season anyway. Whatever, like, shit happens. So, yeah, the way I see it, if you want to spend our first pick on a guard, I think your best option is to either hope that Wyatt Davis somehow falls or go for Landon Dickerson. Maybe you could convert Creed Humphrey or Josh Myers, but we already did that with Posick and it didn't work out. And that pretty much covers most of what I can say about the draft. There are probably some other prospects that would be intriguing, but those are the guys who stand out to me. James Glenn, if I'm the GM, I'm trading Wagner, Reed, and Lockett, sign Corey Davis to take Lockett's place at half the price, and let Brooks play middle linebacker. Bruce Irvin can play Sam, Barton BBK, and Shaquem will. Yeah, that all sounds pretty reasonable to me. I don't know if anybody's going to trade for Wagner, but fundamentally, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. Yeah, Trey Smith is a massive human being, Brent, definitely. Hey, Tall Allen. Yeah. Well, every offseason's different, man. Trey Smith, mean and beefy. Yeah. Rondale Moore looked very good in college. Let me see here. I don't see him listed here. All right, so that's most of what I can say about the draft specifically. Brent, the website that I use believes that he will be available in the early fourth. Whether he falls to our pick in the fourth round is a little more difficult to determine. Chrissy, you mean the guard from Grambling? That's not a bad option as long as you sign somebody who can be your dude for the next 2 years. Like, if you signed Austin Blythe to a 2-year deal and then you drafted David Moore to play guard, then I feel like that's really interesting because David Moore could develop into a starter by maybe year 3, and then you've got 2 years of Blythe to fill the gap. Yeah, Green Earth, I believe we will. I believe that we will, Green Earth. That doesn't mean that we're guaranteed to, of course, but I think that we will spend our second round pick on an offensive lineman. I think which one just kind of sort of depends on who we pick up in free agency and who we keep. We can't know that yet. We will know more the closer we get to the draft. But as of right now, I would take my man crush in the second round, Daniel Falele. And maybe Daniel Falele can play guard for a little bit. In fact, let's check the scouts. Give me just 1 minute here to entertain this possibility. So, okay. I'm not seeing him listed here. By the way, it's possible Daniel Falele does not declare for the draft if he feels like he could be a first round pick in 2022. So, it's possible he's not even on the table, but that's what I would do. And you could possibly do it with a different player as well. Like Jackson Carman from Clemson is 350 pounds, and he projects to be a second round pick. So you could do that pretty well. And actually, he projects to be a starting guard in the NFL. So, yeah, maybe somebody like Jackson Carman could be your dude. Hey, Daniel. But offensive linemen are tough because sometimes the guys who play tackle in college can't play tackle in the pros. They play guard. So maybe you look at the tackles and you see which one of them is more likely to play guard. Like I said, Jackson Carman. If he falls to us in the second round, that's very intriguing to me. The problem is, I don't think he has a great future as a left guard in the NFL based off what I'm seeing, but we've been wrong before. Yeah, Brent, if we might have to trade up in the fourth round to get Trey Smith. Well, Green Earth, I don't think we need to sign a top tackle this offseason because Dwayne Brown's going to still be here. Oh, yeah, Daniel, absolutely. Why are you so stupid? Yeah, I don't want to sign a tackle in free agency. I want to sign I want to sign either a guard or a center and then draft a tackle for Dwayne Brown to groom in what will probably be his final season. Kay, I think we're going to have to be okay with Shell. I think we can free up enough money to do some stuff this offseason, but I think we're just going to have to live with Brandon Shell. Cody, we're not talking about Bobby Wagner tonight, buddy. That's a conversation for another time. I mean, Shell is not bad. Yes, Chrissy, that's the idea. Okay, so this stream has about 20 minutes left, and I think I've said basically everything. I think they do, Brent, but I'm not sure. I think I've said everything that I can say about this draft class specifically. There are probably other guys who would be good. Like I knew who Damian Lewis was before the offseason last draft. but he wasn't that high on my radar, and he ended up being great. So there are probably players out there who are not that high on my radar who are also going to be great. Brent McKinney, thank you for the $5. Shell is a B-C+ player. He's okay. Yeah, I agree. I actually think Shell might be a little better than we give him credit for, because his he was bad in the playoff game against the Rams, and I think because of that we all turned on him a little harder than we needed to. But Shell was pretty good last year. And again, you can't fix every problem in one off season. Notre Dame is basically an OL factory. Aaron Banks guard and Robert Haynes RT that both projects as a center or RT in the future. Both should probably be available in the fourth. Yeah, you week two. There were a couple of Notre Dame guys that I like. I know Tommy Kramer. He's not going to be a very high pick, but I kind of like Tommy Kramer. I liked Tom. Hold on. Draft big board. Keep losing my big board. Sorry, guys. Give me 1 second here. Yeah, Notre Dame had one other guy who I liked. There was Tommy Kramer and Aaron Banks. Yeah, Aaron Banks. Aaron Banks is ranked a little below Trey Smith, and he's actually bigger than Trey Smith. Aaron Banks is 6'5", 340. That is a big dude. And if you want even bigger than that, I can help. Ben Cleveland of Georgia is 6'6" and 355. I want to repeat. 6'6", 355. So if we spend our first pick, the second round pick, on a tackle, and we decide we want to use a guard, get a guard in the fourth, then those would be kind of my guys. Trey Smith, Aaron Banks, Ben Cleveland. And you can throw David Moore in there as well. So if we end up going that way, then that's kind of what I like. What do you think about signing Thuney and then drafting a tackle like Liam Eichenberg with the second round pick? I think that's really good. I think that would be a great offseason. I will say that if we draft a tackle in the second round, I hope it's Daniel Falele, but he might not declare for this draft. I don't know if he's declared or not, so I can't get a straight answer. So he might not be even out there. But I have a man crush on Daniel Falele. Alaric Jackson of Iowa. That's not a bad idea, because then you can get a dude and he can start and be part of the future at another spot. Oh, yeah. Liam Eichenberg is also Notre Dame. That's kind of cool. Hold on. Alaric Jackson. Let's see here. Is he a junior? I don't see him listed. No, what? Oh, Alaric Jackson projects to go undrafted on the Draft Network. Huh. I mean, the Draft Network gets things wrong sometimes. They usually don't get things that wrong. So, Chrissy, I think that Falele's physical gifts will make him a second-round pick. But to me, the choice is this. You either get a big-time guard and cheap out on center, or you get a big-time center and cheap out on a guard. And when I say cheap out, I mean you don't spend a bunch of money. Not that you get a piece of crap. You could draft somebody, and the guy you draft is really good, like Damian Lewis, and you're still not paying him anything. So I don't think you can get a big-name center and a big-name guard, but you can get one. Oh, really? You weak. Is that why he fell? Huh. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's not surprising. But there are other guys right in that slot who would be fine. Like I said, that one guy I mentioned who's really big, even bigger than friggin' Ben Cleveland. Ben Cleveland is huge. Aaron Banks would be great. David Moore. All right, team man. See you later. All right, 15 minutes left in this stream. 15 minutes left in this stream, and then I'm going to get out of here. But I think I've covered everything that I can cover, so I'll just be fielding questions at this point and addressing comments. But here's what I want to do. I want to sign Brandon Scherf. That's what I want to do. I want to give Brandon Scherf like 4 years, $50 million. And I think he would have to take that. I don't think anybody's going to give him 5 years. I like her too a lot, Brent, actually. I do. I can't lie. Kind of a guilty pleasure as far as women go because she is kind of a basic bitch, but I can't lie. She does something for me. All right. But anyway, I want us to sign Brandon Scherf and have him play left guard. If you gave me a choice between Scherf and Thuney, I would just close my eyes, reach into the bag, and pull one out. I don't care. They're both awesome, but Scherf would be a little cheaper, and he has a slightly higher pedigree. So I would go with Scherf, and then I would kind of call it good. I would not draft a guard. I would draft an interior lineman who may end up playing guard for us, but I'll get into that in tomorrow's stream. Yeah, that's actually not bad, Michael. I could kind of get behind that. Yes, I do, Cody. Oh, okay, interesting. You week 2. Where's he projected to go? Because the Draft Network has him going undrafted, and that's kind of tough for me to believe. So maybe they're just way off on him. But yeah, I would give Scherf like 4 years, $50 million. And I think he would be, and I think that could work. What do you think about trading up? That's hard because we don't have a lot to work with unless we start giving up players, but it's possible. It's possible. Maybe it's something like we trade Lockett for a second-round pick, and then we use our 2 second-round picks to move up in the second round. I could see that. You week 2, well, it depends. You could put Scherf at right guard and move Lewis to center. You could have Scherf play left guard, or you could move Lewis to left guard. I mean, it depends on who's flexible. Chrissy, Damian Lewis did not play center versus the Rams. That was Kyle Fuller. Yeah, Kyle, we'll talk about wide receivers at a later date. But wide receivers are definitely on my list. Yeah. So, yeah, we don't know who's flexible on this team. We know Postic can only play center. We know that Lewis can play some center. We don't know if he can play left guard. We don't know if he can play a lot of center. It's hard for us to know because we're not there in the gym with them every day. But these are all reasonable options, I think. So anyway, that's really all I would do. I wouldn't draft a guard. I would maybe draft Drew Dahlman, who is more of a center, but can probably play guard in a pinch. Yeah, Chrissy, he played against the Cardinals. He played fine. I remember that game. He played fine. He just committed some penalties because the offensive line was out of sync. I'm not going to put that on him. Christian Darisaw from Virginia Tech. Let me look. I know that name. Well, he's projected to go really high. Isn't he a top 10 pick? According to this, he's a top 10er, so there's no way you can get him. Yeah, week 2. I actually do have a way the Seahawks could get an elite guard and a really good center. Really? Okay, that's interesting, Green Earth. I mean, players fall. Players fall sometimes. It does happen, and you have to be prepared for it. So I would let Jordan Simmons walk in free agency, by the way. I don't know if that's obvious or not. I would not re-sign Jordan Simmons. I would let Jordan Simmons go. And I would not spend any draft capital on a guard unless you count Drew Dahlman as a guard. But yeah, I mean, to be clear, when I say I want to sign Scherf could just as easily be Thuney. I don't mind. It's all kind of the same to me. Again, with Scherf, you're probably going to save a little bit of money, but Scherf also has played right guard in his career so far, so you don't know if he's going to go out there and kill it. Yeah, trade Jerron Reed is a very reasonable option. If you do that, though, you do need to get another left tackle, so you have to remember that you're adding something you need to replace on the team if you trade Jerron Reed. But that's a very reasonable option. You know, maybe the team, and I have no way of knowing if this is the case or not, maybe the team really likes Freddie Swain, and they're like, yeah, Lockett, get out of here. We don't need you no more. All right. So I think that basically covers it. Hansley from ND, he played everything except left tackle and projects as a center, but he's a Swiss Army knife type. Yeah. Notre Dame actually has a lot of good offensive linemen in this draft. I was noticing that when I was looking around. It was like, dang, I want one of these. Yeah, Aaron Fuller's another one. Hello, Adrian. Okay, 8 minutes left. I'm just going to field comments for the next 8 minutes. So, what do you guys think? What do you guys think about my solution at guard, which is just sign Scherf or Thuney, but let's say Scherf and leave it at that. Phil Haynes can stay on as a backup, and you go into 2021 with starting left guard Brandon Scherf and backup left guard Phil Haynes. By the way, if you want to really go all out on the offensive line, which, by the way, this is actually something I really like, sign Scherf and then sign Alex Mack. Alex Mack is still good, but he's really old, so he's probably going to take a 1-year deal, and he's not going to want a ton of money because he's already made his money. If you want to get a really good surefire guard and center, I think that's the way you do it. You get Scherf or Thuney, whichever, and then you get Alex Mack at center, because that's a way to get a really good center without breaking the bank. But short of that, if we get Scherf or Thuney, then you're probably going to have to roll the dice at center a little bit. I don't think he was bad, though, okay? I still think he was quite good. He wasn't all-pro, but who's going to be all-pro when you're 37 years old? I don't think it leaves us skimpy at running back. Again, we don't know exactly how much money we're going to have this offseason, Green Earth, but I feel like it will be enough to make one big-time investment and still get some of these little pieces that you need. Yeah, Chrissy, I don't think we're going to trade Wilson. Week 2K, I said Scherf. If Scherf can't play left guard, then you move things around. Yeah, if we re-sign KJ, I'm going to be furious. It can't even be a consideration. Okay, the only way we could have considered re-signing KJ would have been if he was willing to play for a hot dog, and he's not, so we can't do it. Oh, Brent, guards usually can play. I mean, Mike Upati played until he was 34, and everyone was like, wow, he retired young. Guards usually can keep going. Yeah, like I said, I still want that backfield platoon of Penny, Jamal Williams, and maybe like Chuba Hubbard or something. Yeah, 29 is not that bad for an offensive guard, I don't think. All right, 5 minutes, guys. Yeah, I would consider that, Michael. Alex Collins isn't bad. Yeah, but there's no upside. We know exactly what Alex Collins is. It's not exciting. He's like he's never going to be he's not a stud. If you get somebody like a Jamal Williams, he has potential to be a stud. Rashad Penny still has potential to be a stud. Well, week 2K, obviously, if we got Mac, it would only be for one season. It would just be a 1 year, kick the can down the road. Let's try to get these guys a ring, and after the season, go retire, and we'll figure it out then. Obviously, I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that at one or two positions. Yeah, Kyle, that's actually exactly what I'm going to advocate for, but I'll talk more about that in the future. Not really, Austin. How long do we have Dwayne? He has 1 more year on his contract. And it doesn't seem like he's going to retire. In fact, some people are saying he wants an extension. I mean, sometimes players just keep playing, like Jason Peters. He kept going well beyond his expiration date. Cody, I don't know what you're talking about, dude. I'm not sure what you're trying to imply by that. Chrissy, next is going to be tight end. That's tomorrow, by the way. This is kind of a special that I did tonight because I'm really bored and because I made a video about left guard, and we obviously need left guard, but I didn't do a stream about it. So left guard, I wanted to do a dedicated stream for it. I know, Kyle, but shit goes downhill fast. Oh, well, Cody, what the hell does that have to do with anything? I don't know what point you're trying to make, Cody. Actually, yeah. Well, week 2K, even if you let the defensive suffer, which I'm cool with. In fact, my offseason plan kind of revolves around that. That doesn't mean you're going to be able to get all pros all over the place on your offensive line. Ghost, you'll see. Yeah, Cody, but well, were we? Yeah, Cody, I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, yeah, we have a Super Bowl ring. What? I don't know what your point is. I was talking about Alex Mack. I'm kind of off the Disley wagon, guys. I don't think Disley can be a tight end one, but we're not talking about tight end right now. That's tomorrow. I could ghost, yeah. Absolutely could. Okay, so I think that wraps up our discussion about what about bringing Justin Britt back. For a vet min, I would consider doing that if we need a backup center, but Justin Britt was never any good when he played guard. Okay, guys, I think that's going to wrap up this stream. We spent a good hour talking about mostly left guards, and I think we came to some pretty good ideas about what we can do in the future. For the record, my way to play this would be let Jordan Simmons walk, sign Brandon Scherf, don't draft any guards. You can draft Drew Dahlman and he can be your center/guard, but don't draft guards. That's how I would deal with it. You guys all have different takes. I think that's cool. And yeah, that'll do it for me today. Peace out. Go Hawks. Tomorrow we'll be back at it, taking a look at tight ends and bring your tight end knowledge into the next stream. Peace out.